When I taught, most people didn't call me Mr. Eicheldinger because it takes way too long to say. You can call me Mr. Matt, or Mr. Ike, or Mr. E. So as a teacher, when a kid walks into your room, you want them to feel like they are part of the community. And to do that, you need to create a space where kids can share about themselves. So what I tell students every time I go in is your story matters. Tell me in one sentence what your personal narrative is about. Hi, my name is Matt Eicheldinger. I'm a Bloomington resident. I've lived here for the last 12 years with my family, and I'm also a storyteller and the author of Matt Sprouts and the Curse of the 10 Broken Toes. I'm working with Hillcrest Community School, and I'm going in to present how you make a book and my book journey and what does it mean to tell and share your story. When I started teaching in 2009, many of my colleagues were handing out candy to get kids to do things in class like answer questions or go do tasks, and I didn't have candy and didn't want to provide that much throughout the year. So I started thinking about what is something I can use as incentives, and I have a great memory and I have all these stories from my childhood that are unique, silly, and funny for kids to hear about their teacher getting embarrassed. So I started telling these stories in class. The kids pick out a story and then I just tell it. And they were really successful. And so I decided to write them all down before I forgot, but as I was writing them, I was like, oh, maybe they could be a book. And so I strung all these little stories together into a book, put it in my classroom in a binder, and students loved it. And so in that same year, I decided to try and get it published. And that's where my publishing journey began, was in 2009. And then for the next decade, trying to get it published. And I received well over 200 rejections over those 10 years. So then in 2021, I decided to self-publish the book since no one was picking it up traditionally. And so we crowdfunded the cost. Many Bloomington residents, including the students that I was teaching, their families contributed money for me to make this book, which was a lifelong dream, but the goal was still to get noticed. And so then the next 2 years, I sold thousands of copies. I won numerous awards for indie books, and I did get noticed. And so I just signed my multi-book deal to continue writing these stories that are all based on my childhood. And it's called the Matt Sprouts series. We signed with Andrews McMeel Publishing. They do things like Calvin and Hobbes, Garfield, Peanuts, the Big Nate series, which is a big full circle moment because the only thing I read growing up was Calvin and Hobbes. So to go to their headquarters and stand next to my idol with my silly little book that I worked on for 15 years is pretty incredible. I was also asked to draw more illustrations. The original book had 30, and this is going to have upwards of 90. I draw my students every year for their end of the year gift. They're presented with this big sheet of paper that has all of their faces on it. And so originally I was only paper and pencil, but when I made my book, I had to learn to use an iPad. I told my wife, I'll never draw because I don't consider myself an artist at all. And when they asked me to do it and I actually finished them all, they said they were good. And I was like, oh, I guess I do this now too. I guess I'm an illustrator. So right now it's a multi-book deal. So that means I get to recreate the first one, which releases in March, and then the sequel will come out in September. And right now, the trajectory looks incredible, more than I could have ever imagined. It's the #1 pre-sale book at Barnes & Noble for spring 2024 across all genres and forms. So adult novels, kids books, everything.
When you see somebody from your own community who is doing really great things and getting the publicity and the notoriety that Matt is getting for the story that he wrote, it just brings it so close to where you are. When we have, his daughter in our classroom and she can give us the little updates on things, it feels like we're on the ride with him. He's from where we're from.
What was especially tricky about making a decision to take a year leave of teaching is I signed my book deal, and literally the next day was the last day you could apply for a leave of absence from teaching. So my wife and I had to go home and we had to make this big decision of what are we gonna do next year. I like my book deal, but it's not sustainable unless you see your book become successful. And so it was a really pressured decision, but we knew what the answer was. And it's after 15 years of chasing this dream and finally realizing it, you have to go all in. You just have to. And so that's what I thought I would be doing this entire year, was just writing my books. Hello, my name is Matt, and I'm a teacher, and today I want to tell you about a sticky note. Hello, my name is Matt, I'm a teacher, and today I want to talk about folded paper. Hello, my name is Matt, I'm a teacher, and today I want to tell you about rolling dice. My Instagram account grew very rapidly over the course of just 2 months, and now I'm one of the most widely known teachers on Instagram. So the stories that I started telling on Instagram were originally just going to be like the trials and tribulations of teaching. And I had done TikTok for a while and I was doing like teacher humor, but it wasn't very self-fulfilling. So I decided I'm only going to look at these stories that I've collected and only tell things that show the real heart of the story and paint the individual in a very positive way. and leave people smiling at the end of the video. And so I would say as a whole, most of my stories are things that as I'm reflecting on them, I've learned a new lesson. So I might have not learned that lesson in the moment of interacting with that child, but in retrospect, here's what I learned and here's how powerful that moment actually was. But it has been actually the perfect timing because of the book release and because I'm a storyteller at heart. It feels like I have these two new trajectories that are just running parallel to each other. And I don't really know where they're going, but it feels positive.